Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're going to be talking about the spell True Polymorph. This is a spell I don't know much about.
Oh my god.
This
is a spell I know too much about.
Yeah. Reading over it, it does a number of different things. Wow. Why don't you take it from here, Sam?
Okay. All right. Basically, if it's not a shapeshifter or a magical object, you can turn that thing into whatever you want. This is the most busted polymorph can get in all of its glory. This is the kind of effect that warps everything around it and will make it so, like, if there's something that really highlights just how bad of a system challenge rating is, True Polymorph may not be the largest shower of that problem. It doesn't like highlight the pixies so early, but it definitely showcases the sheer quantity of utterly bananas and backbreaking stupid shit that you can do in Dungeons and Dragons by letting you be basically every monster in the monster manual, by letting you turn any object into any CR9 or lower monster from the monster manual. Or conceivably you could just use this to turn the big bad into a rock and then throw them into the ocean and then wait an hour. That's a thing. This spell can do all of those things. And while the modes aren't all equal, the best one by far is turning you and your buddies into CR 19-20 monsters. It's still, all of the modes are relevant, and you will always have powerful things to do with True Polymorph.
This is a level 9 spell.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is
you gotta expect some big things from it.
Oh yeah. I honestly think this is, I don't know if I want to say this is where I want 9th level magic to be, but this is what I expect 9th level magic to be. It isn't like you don't reshape reality with it, but you come damn near close, and that is what I want from my 9th level magic. So I think an important thing to note about this that's different from the other effects is whenever you turn one creature to another creature, you assume the new form of that creature. You get all of the things. You get its actions, you get its nature. You can do all of the things that it can do. That means if you turn into an Archmage, I believe, I've Googled this like 3 times, and the answer I consistently get is you can use their 9th level spell slots. You can use all of the spellcasting roster from anything you transform into that's lower CR than your level.
That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right, but it certainly is, and it's definitely not fair. So if you just want to double your spell list, you just doubles your spell list. Granted, like you're gated to their spells. You can't use your spells in their spell slots, unfortunately. You can't loop True Polymorph on yourself forever. But you can absolutely get a whole lot more resources. Like, let's say you burn through every single one of your spell slots except your 9th level spell slot, and you go, okay, great, I'm gonna turn Archmage and do it all again. That works. More practically, you can use this as like, oh, I want to be an ancient red dragon, or I want a barbarian, because they've not been useful for the last 6 levels because we're in the upper tiers, to be an ancient red dragon. Bam, problem solved. You got a ancient dragon on your side, able to run around and do despicable things. If it gets legendary resistance, you get legendary resistance. If it gets ridiculous spell effects that do 40d8 damage, you get ridiculous spell effects that do 40d8 damage. It is absurdly powerful, and it is going to be one of those things where you're going to sit down with a DM and you're going to have to say, okay, great, what am I allowed to turn into? Because if you have like the encyclopedic knowledge of everything that's within the CR categories, and you've got the list of these are all the monsters that have been printed that fit the things I can turn into, it may become a very unfun game warping power of, yeah, I have the monster for every problem we ever would go into, and I can turn into things that grant wishes and a whole suite of other problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just like part of 9th level spell gameplay.
Absolutely. It's the animal shape is even 8th level, but like it's the upper tier spells. This is the category where we go, okay, great, we have to actually discuss how this works.
I mean, there's wish. There's if you're trying to keep the genie in the bottle, then you're done.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I think 9th level spell gameplay is only for a select like fraction of D&D players.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't, we were talking about Wish earlier, and I don't think I'd want it. And this sounds like another one. It's too much power. There's no, I don't know, unless you have a very skilled DM or whatever, then it seems like very little challenge left in the game.
So I think that this spell, more so than, like, I think Wish kind of can fix every problem. I think that's one of the issues that I think is why it's so powerful, is there isn't anything left. It is the most powerful thing you can do. With True Polymorph, even though the CR system is bad, there are still CR 30 monsters out there. There are still things that conceivably challenge someone with True Polymorph, and I think that at least is nifty. I think that this is a slightly different realm of gameplay. There will be some classes that actually don't get to play, but there will be others that will be having the time of their life doing some really bananas bonkers things. If you are at the table that wants to do that, if you're at the group that really wants to delve into Munchkin-y high power BS, I think True Polymorph has a very good place in that game. Side of that table, it definitely is going to be like, well, I mean, our Rogue, Ranger, and Monk definitely can't handle a CR 35 Tiamat because they don't have the quantity of magic items they need to become the same as a full caster. So maybe we can't deal with the upper CR versions of things that have existed. Maybe we have to like re-examine what you're allowed to do with True Polymorph to make it feel more fair with the rest of the table. Because when left to its own devices to be the super munchkin-y powerful game-breaking thing, yeah, True Polymorph is definitely going to make some people feel useless. Unless, of course,
strangely enough, not the bard.
Yeah, this is true. You can do this as a bard. You can do this as a warlock. You can do this as a wizard. All those characters are going to have a good time with this. It's nice that at least more than just wizard gets this kind of powerful thing. Yeah. So you can have at least somewhat diverse group of upper level casters. It's also good. Like, when I say this isn't necessarily fun for the whole group, if you do have mainly all full casters that are doing big, powerful garbage, the barbarian may genuinely have a really fun time being an ancient white dragon. Like, you just fly around and breath weapon things and make 4 attacks a turn and have legendary resistance. Like, there's a whole suite of cool stuff that you get when you are playing as a monster. And this can just be like, yeah, screw my character sheet, give me that. And you just, the wizard turns you into something really cool that you have a lot of fun with, and you can kind of have some cool moments with it. There'll be groups that won't work with, but again, seeing as the vast majority of people are never even getting to the stage of the game anyway, I'm glad it exists.
Myself included.
Yeah, I've played a grand total of 2 games. I've been playing since the playtest, basically since I was born. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons more or less, and coming in with like actually playing for years and years on end. 2 games have got to 20th level, so it doesn't happen often, even to the most diehard of us. So yeah, this is not something that most people are going to ever run into as a problem. If you do run into it as a problem, it's a pretty fun problem, I think, at least. But you will have to have like the meta conversation of, well, what is it fair for your character to believe they can turn things into? You have to have seen them. Should we make some parameters? Do we have to figure this out? And that's the steps that happen in the growing pains of playing upper levels.
All right. I'm sure there's a lot more to say about it. Is there anything else you want to add right now?
Well, I mean, everything else the spell does is worse than that.
Oh yeah, it does other things too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah. The most interesting thing for me was turning objects into creatures. You're creating life.
Yes, you're creating life that likes you, notably. The object comes in and treats you and your companions as friendly. You decide what it does too. So it functions as a catch-all CR 9 or lower summon spell. That has not the exact same, but very similar problems to the rest of the spell of being able to turn it into CR like 17 and less. But still, it's really good. Being able to turn that rock into any CR 9 monster is going to be powerful. It's going to be a good effect, especially because most summoning magic doesn't come close to CR 9. Whenever you're summoning things, in normal caps out on CR like 5 or 6, even at the very highest level of casting these things. Mm-hmm. When you're getting something for CR 9 of your choice from the monster manual, you're going to do powerful stuff. It's going to be getting extra spells. It's going to be doing bananas broken things if you want it to be. But it also can just be like, you know what would be really funny right now? If I conjured it into existence and turned that marble into, I don't know, a 5-headed donkey hydra. Sure, why not? I think that could be something that's within the scope of turning objects into creatures and having some fun with it. I think you could take a lot of fun creative liberties with it and be the mad scientist, bring life into this world kind of, evil villain, monstrous nonsense. with a creative table and some fun DMs, this can be that top end fantasy. And maybe listen, if I'm DMing this and that's what you want to do with it, I am head over heels in love with that idea, because that means you're not turning into ancient white dragons, and I'm here for that.
What's the? There's one more thing you can do, right?
You can turn a creature into an object.
Creature and object. All right, that's less fun.
That's polymorph.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same as turning them into a squirrel or a sheep or whatever. Most of
Is
the time,
that permanent?
Again, no, it's an hour. I wish it was permanent. The old editions, it used to be permanent. I'm pretty sure you could permanently turn things into other things. It's probably for the best that it isn't. And it probably wouldn't be that much more busted if it was permanent. It would make some of the other effects wonky, but at the end of the day, it's still just going to be like, I want to remove that creature from existence. Great. It makes a save or it's a rock for an hour. And
all
then
right, what happens
if
if you chuck that rock into a volcano?
It eventually is no longer a rock and has to deal with being inside a volcano.
But I mean, like, is it just if the rock itself is destroyed, is the creature destroyed?
The creature turns back into the thing.
Oh, all right. So they might sink a foot before it's swimming in lava.
Yes, but that's the reason that's not that exciting is because basically you could use a 4th level spell to polymorph them into a squirrel and then take that squirrel and put that squirrel in the volcano, functioning the same effect, right?
How often are you at the lip of a volcano?
Yeah, sure. But you'll often be like around the sea or whatever and have the ability to throw something deep into the ocean, or, stick it in a very small box and, mail it to somebody. And I don't know. You can do some dumb things with polymorph. You can do dumber things with true polymorph. Yeah, it takes an already busted spell and it's like, what if this was 9th level? And that's what true polymorph is.
All right. Well, that was true polymorph. You got a Sam score?
5 out of 5. But it's busted.
It's no question there. 5 out of 5.
The spell's disgusting.
All right. Well, true polymorph. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.